Good morning. This is Mission Control Houston. Thank you for joining us for today's ISS update this Tuesday, February 7th. We're now looking at a live view inside the International Space Station Flight Control Room where the Orbit 2 team, seen here, has been monitoring the systems aboard the station and supporting the day's activities of the Expedition 30 crew members. Also, here in the Station Flight Control Room today, we have special guest astronaut Mike Fossum joining us to talk about current station activities and share some of his experiences aboard the complex. Fossum served as a Space Station Expedition 29 commander and spent a total of 167 days aboard the orbiting facility. Welcome, Mike. Thank you for joining us today.
Hey, you're welcome, Amico. Glad to be here.
Leading the team here in the Station Flight Control Room today is Flight Director Ron Spencer, seen here on the right-hand side of your screen, with Robert Hanley there next to him, serving as Capcom, relaying all ground messages up to the crew. So, Mike, it was the undocking of your Soyuz vehicle that signaled the start of this current Expedition 30, correct?
That's right. I spent a short bit of time with that part of the expedition crew, really just a total of 6 days, including the day they arrived and we left. And that part of the crew was Dan Burbank, Anton Skoplarov, and Anatoly Ivanishin.
So the 6 crew members currently aboard the station include NASA astronaut and commander of the complex Dan Burbank and flight engineers and cosmonauts Anton Shkaplerov and Anatoly Ivanishin, as well as the NASA astronaut Don Pettit, cosmonaut Oleg Kononenko, and European Space Agency astronaut Andrei Kuipers.
My short-term crewmates, Commander Burbank, Skoplarov, and Ivanishin, launched to the orbiting complex aboard their Soyuz spacecraft as the Expedition 29 crew last November. They docked to the Poisk module of the space station a few days after their launch on November 16th. Burbank assumed command of the station when I handed over to him, only a few days after they arrived.
Great, thanks, Mike. And today, he and his crew members complete their 87th consecutive day in space. Meanwhile, Pettit, Kononenko, and Kuipers launched aboard Soyuz TMA-03M from the Baikonur Cosmodrome in Kazakhstan on December 21st, when they began their 2-day chase on orbit to catch up to the International Space Station. With their Soyuz docked to the Rassvet module, they will complete their 49th consecutive day in space today. The space station, with its crew aboard, is now flying at an altitude of about 240 statute miles. The orbiting facility is making a night pass on a east-southeastern track coming now across the North Pacific Ocean. The Expedition 30 continues to tend to a variety of science experiments that take advantage of their microgravity environment, perform regular maintenance to their orbital home, and continue preparations for next week's spacewalk outside the complex. So, Mike, what's on tap today aboard the station?
Hey, it's a typical busy day on board the station with everybody kind of working in different directions. Station Commander Dan Burbank is setting up 2 cameras for the upcoming Russian spacewalk set for February 16th. Dan is also transferring U.S. spacewalk tools to the Russian segment that they will use during next week's spacewalk. Meanwhile, Anatoly Ivanishin is transferring water from the newly arrived Progress supply ship to a water tank aboard the station. Andrei Kuipers is retrieving biological samples provided for the SOLO study from the minus 80-degree laboratory freezer, or MELFI, to store it at room temperature. Also, for the sodium loading and microgravity study, or SOLO, he'll log his daily high-salt diet as the study looks at fluid and salt retention in the body during spaceflight. Flight engineer Don Pettit is setting up for and performing fluid test runs of the capillary flow experiments, shown here with the red fluid. He'll later spend some time taking down the hardware and stowing it away.
Thanks, Mike. And earlier this morning aboard the International Space Station, Commander Burbank restowed items that were removed during maintenance work to the Advanced Recycle Filter Tank assembly yesterday. Burbank then removed and replaced a urine receptacle of an onboard waste and hygiene compartment. He also conducted a nitrogen pressure check of 3 minus 80-degree laboratory freezers that store biological and science samples that require refrigeration until they can be returned to Earth for analysis. Anton Shkaplerov and Oleg Kononenko worked together to activate and inspect the Russian Orlan spacesuits. They also conducted a checkout of the spacesuit interface unit of the 2 spacesuits in preparation for their spacewalk next week. Anatoly Ivanishin performed regular preventative maintenance to the service module's ventilation system and the SOJ, which is also the Russian life support system. And Andre Kuipers conducted a VO2 max measurement as part of a study that measures the aerobic capacity of a crew member while on orbit. He also spent some time unpacking items from the Progress 46 supply ship. Flight engineer Don Pettit configured the bowling ball sized satellites used in the synchronized position, hold, engage, and reorient experiment that tests algorithms for spacecraft performing autonomous rendezvous and docking maneuvers. Later today, Commander Burbank will provide Shkaplerov and Kononenko a tutorial of the DUG, or Dynamic Onboard Ubiquitous Graphics, a visual simulation software used for spacewalk planning and review of the station robotic arm operations. The Expedition 30 crew is then scheduled to go to bed at 3:30 p.m. Central Time. This is Mission Control Houston.